The MZ-S has the design aesthetic of a B-grade sci-fi movie's evil robot villain. But behind that facade, the MZ-S packs significant capabilities and a generally robust build. The ergonomics, though, are like durian, an acquired taste. Now, I chose to acquire a taste for the MZ-S, and that was a good decision. The MZ-S interface varies greatly from other cameras, even its contemporaries, especially its contemporaries. The interface feels like a prototype or version 1.0. Had the MZ-S lineup continued, had there been a subsequent camera that took the ergonomics to version 2.0, and then another advancing to layout 3.0, the camera's layout today would be seen as the precursor to a great camera interface lineage. But those subsequent cameras never arrived, and so the MZ-S interface remains an oddity, a curious-looking camera that, because of its own curious look, is both intriguing and off-putting. The MZ-S was Pentax's last great 35mm film SLR. It followed giants like the PZ-1P, LX, MX, K2, and Spotmatic F. The MZ-S was the final standard bearer for the Pentax 35mm lineup. But as a flagship, it lagged behind its competitors. The MZ-S has a blazing 1/6000th of a second maximum shutter speed that pales next to the Canon 1's and Nikon F5's 1/8000th and falls flat to the Minolta 9's 1/12,000th shutter speeds. Now that said, the MZ-S has compactness and lightness that none of the other contemporary standard bearers came close to matching. To base a camera's worth on only a shutter speed, a single specification, or even a group of specifications would be to ignore the most important part of using a camera, the experience. Pentax designed the MZ-S by taking all their knowns and assumed interface elements and tossing them in the bin. The MZ-S interface started with a clean sheet of paper, and Pentax asked what could be done, not what had been done. They moved the LCD display, tilted the top panel to make it easier to read, put the best version of the K-mount ever on the camera, and then they gave it 6 linear CCD sensors for the light meter. They used a dial around the LCD screen for controls and created or refined a number of still standard design elements and features that exist as individual kept components in their current cameras. They did not do everything right. They did not do everything well, but if graded for the overall result, the MZ-S is still a solid A. And more than the result, the thinking behind the MZ-S should be seen as the most valuable takeaway and legacy in Pentax cameras today. The thinking is a willingness to risk, to explore, to change, and to try. Not because it has worked before, but because maybe it will work in the future. The MZ-S built upon a successful lineage and injected much needed creativity and innovation into Pentax camera design. I submit that approach still exists in Pentax's engineering mindset, and if there is any one aspect of the MZ-S that warrants preservation, it is the spirit of ingenuity and creativity that Pentax cameras still exhibit with each successive generation. The MZ-S was the last new 35mm film camera Pentax made in Japan. The MZ-S was the last flagship 35mm film camera from Pentax. The MZ-S was the last near-professional 35mm film body from Pentax. And what a good note to end on. The MZ-S was the swan song for 35mm Pentax bodies. Sure, the MZ-60 and Starist bodies followed, but they were like snow trapped on a pine tree branch, falling a day after the blizzard because of a gentle breeze. The MZ-S has weaknesses. The rubber covers on the remote and battery pack, they're called the FLL and FLS covers. Those rubber covers are prone to plasticize or degradation. Mine too, and even at only 15 years old or younger, needs those ports replaced because they turned to liquid goo. And those parts, they're not sourceable. Now thankfully the MZ-S's grip does not have that issue. You'll also hear reports online about the MZ-S having a plastic drivetrain, and that it having a weakness on the drive motor due to the motor gear being plastic. So I asked a bunch of repairmen about this. I asked every repairman I know about this. And then there was a problem. The MZ-S is so reliable, I found one person who had opened one of them for service once, and he indicated that he did not recall any of the gears in the camera being plastic except for the gear on the mirror actuator, which is plastic. And that's the gear on the mirror actuator motor. And that is the MZ-S's other weakness. And when that gear is stripped, there's no repair. Ultimately, what users remember about the MZ-S are the refinements. Its nice touches and details, the index lamp, the ease of reading the display and data dials, how comfortable the camera is to hold once you get used to it. Yes, it has some specification-related limitations on the far extremes. And for most of us, probably all of us today, that doesn't warrant a second thought. Not one of the specifications in the EOS 1, F5, or Alpha 9 makes a difference when compared to the importance of the MZ-S's fantastic ergonomics and interface. And honestly, this camera is a lot easier to carry than any of the three comparables. It's lighter, it's smaller. I, or most anyone else, can easily go a whole day with this around their neck without feeling extreme neck strain.